What if Captain Janeway chose to ally with the Kazon? A Starfleet captain is ready to do anything to save her fleet and return them home, even if it means breaking protocol and going as far as forging an alliance with her sworn enemy. What if Captain Captain Janeway, the fierce leader of the USS Voyager, chose to join forces with the Kazon? How would this have changed the course of their journey home? And what are the twists and consequences that could come as a result?
There are 3 things to remember about being a starship captain. Keep your shirt tucked in, go down with the ship, and never abandon a member of your crew.
Captain Janeway to Naomi Wildman. Captain Captain Janeway in Star Trek. Voyager is seen as a steadfast and morally convicted leader of the newly commissioned USS Voyager, always upholding principles and playing by the book. With that said, what if Janeway had compromised instead of following protocols when she met with the Kazon? The Kazon serve as the main antagonists during the first 2 seasons of the Star Trek universe. They are a nomadic species scattered into 18 sects and are recognized by their aggressive nature. These violent outlaws have attempted to steal Voyager's advanced technology but failed. In the regular universe, Captain Janeway has turned down Commander Chakotay's suggestions to ally with the Kazons for safe passage, thereby refusing to trade Starfleet technology. But what happens if she had chosen a different path and joined forces with the Kazon? The consequences could have been major, affecting both Voyager's journey and the whole Delta Quadrant. Why might Captain Janeway have chosen to ally with them? Janeway has a strong conviction against forming an alliance with rogues or any violent groups. However, Janeway was driven by desperation over Starfleet protocols. Picture Voyager floating in empty space, with most of the parts critically damaged from consecutive attacks. The ship is heavily damaged, supplies are low, and the fleet has lost all hope, their faces stricken with fear of being stranded 70,000 light-years from home. The atmosphere was gloomy, and something had to be done fast. This is where Cesa comes in. A former Maquis who switched her allegiance to the Kazon makes a strong and convincing decision to Janeway to form an alliance with the Kazon, and therefore her role becomes central. This, however, wasn't a blind proposal. An alliance could provide resources, safe passage, and protection from other violent groups, which Voyager is strictly short of. In this alternate timeline, Janeway had to put the lives of her crew and ship first and hesitantly agreed. The alliance would be an exchange. Captain Janeway would offer limited Starfleet technology, like some replicators or medical advancements. However, the power dynamics would be hectic. In the regular timeline, merging the Maquis and Starfleet forces was controversial and disputed for both sides. The Kazon, famously notorious for power struggles, no doubt demand more than what Captain Janeway is willing to give. Her senior officers would struggle to reconcile this decision with their Starfleet values. This alliance will cause internal conflicts, and some crew members will be torn between seeing Captain Janeway's sacrifice as a pragmatic approach or seeing it as a betrayal of Starfleet's principles. Captain Janeway's choice to ally with the Kazon would no doubt alter her character arc. The once principled, unyielding captain becomes a leader willing to compromise her values, a decision that might haunt her for the rest of her life and throughout the journey home. An alliance worth losing values? Now that Captain Janeway extends the olive branch to the Kazons, they in return protect the Voyager from attacks. Janeway ensures that the Kazon ships almost keep up with Voyager, while safekeeping most of the Federation secrets. But they aren't known for free services or gratitude, they're known for ambition. And Voyager? It's a floating gold mine with lots of weaponry that could dominate the Delta Quadrant. The sect ruler, Mage Color, might say in a tense meeting to Captain Janeway, "You promised cooperation. Why hold back?" And internal conflicts begin to spark even more. Her first officer disapproves and warns that strengthening them could destabilize the Delta Quadrant, granting them absolute power. Captain Janeway sees the alliance as the only way to preserve the lives of the crew members, and he ends up leading a quiet faction against the alliance. B'Elanna Torres is also against sharing Voyager's technology, fearing they could be turned against them and put the lives Captain Janeway is trying to protect in danger. She confronts Janeway too, but it strains their relationship. And with no surprise, the Kazon demands more. They want access to the warp core, or even much worse, partial control of the ship. Now, this is where the mutiny escalates. Half of the crew believes that resisting means war, and that's a battle Voyager can't win. The other half believes the Voyager is better off alone, no matter the danger. Now Captain Janeway is faced with two tough decisions. Does she risk losing Voyager from the inside, or break the alliance with the Kazon and put them back to where they were, in isolation? And that definitely won't go well, as the Kazon would use their advantage over Voyager, causing the loss of the lives of crew members. Captain Janeway would have no choice but to surrender in order to protect the crew members. If she risks losing Voyager from the inside, lives would still be lost, and the Kazon would still cause a lot of damage either way. At the end of the day, her decision will cost the very soul of the ship. Isolation, the price of the Alliance. Now Voyager, the Federation ship, once a beacon of integrity and hope, is now a power player in Delta Quadrant politics. In the regular universe, Neelix joins them, and Captain Janeway, in exchange, promises him water. But in this alternate universe, the Talaxians steer clear, and Neelix finds doors slammed in his face. "Your ship flies with the Kazon? We can't risk dealing with you," the Talaxians traitor says. The Ocampa, few and fragile, disappear further underground, fearing that Voyager's alliance would no doubt bring the Kazons too close to their sanctuary. Kez becomes distant, torn between loyalty to Voyager and fear for her people, the Ocampans. The Vidians? They revoke their truce with a ship aligned with the Kazon, as they are no longer friends to hopeless civilizations like their own. Although Janeway might have negotiated uneasy truces or exchanges before, Voyager's partnership with the notorious and dishonorable Kazon means the Vidians only see an enemy. The Kazon on their own expand aggressively and begin to unite, strengthened by Voyager's weapon and firepower. As a result, smaller factions form alliances in secret. Their dominance is growing, and these smaller factions would even reach out to Voyager's enemies. Voyager suffers huge damage. Alone, isolated, every path home becomes dangerous, narrow. Allies that could have offered support, shelter, or shortcuts now see them as enemies. Every port is now a trap and a gamble. And Captain Janeway, once a diplomat, is now burdened by a different title and identity, warlord by association. Then she weighs her choices and wonders, was this the only way? Does Captain Janeway become a more ruthless leader? Captain Janeway that we know is now different. She isn't the upright captain clinging to Starfleet principles in the middle of nowhere. This Janeway has been tempered by compromise, necessity, and the sharp edges of Kazon dominance. Captain Janeway tells herself at first that it's temporary. We will use them until we are strong enough to stand alone. But alliances with the Kazon don't come without a cost more than one can beat. They don't respect mercy. They respect power. The crew watches as their captain grows colder, ruthless, and her decisions rash. A Vidian ship crosses paths with Voyager. Tuvok suggests diplomacy, but Kazon taunts her as weak. Captain Janeway orders a warning shot which causes the Vidians to scatter. But she knows that she has confirmed her stand as the enemy, and they won't forget. "We are not out here to make friends. We're out here to get home," she reminds her crew. Although her sacrifice is ruthless, it is effective and works. But the price is steep. Chakotay wonders how much of the woman he once respected still remains. Her crew wonders if their captain is still the woman they once knew. And the captain herself? She has lost too much, especially the moral ethics she once held. She sleeps less now as she spends every passing second thinking faster than the enemy is in allegiance with and making sure Voyager gets home. But every day Voyager moves closer to Earth. Does the Voyager get home, or does the cost outweigh the destination? The Kazons are cunning. The more Voyager relies on them, the more it gets entangled in their rivalries and wars. And with no way to avoid it, Voyager's crew gets involved in fighting their battles rather than charting their way home. The worst part is that Captain Janeway knows. She believes there is no turning back now, because to abandon the Alliance now means they're open to attack from every enemy they've made and inherited. So Voyager has to keep flying, but Earth seems far away than ever. Some would say Captain Janeway carved a dangerous and bloody path home, but with their souls changed forever. But one thing remains sure. The journey wasn't just about getting home alone, it was about how they got there. Can we blame Captain Janeway for doing whatever it takes to make sure the same people who left the Alpha Quadrant were the same ones that made it back? Because sometimes the longest way home is the one you take when you forget who you are. The Star Trek universe is filled with exciting possibilities. And if you want more videos like these, please like and subscribe. and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.